I was burning Crisco oil in my stove. Actually worked out pretty good. A little expensive, but it worked out good. And so I used one of these cans originally. So that's what I'm burning the fuel in. So it's liquid fuel. It's a wood stove that I built for wood, but I also wanted to be able to burn liquid fuel in it. And so I started off with burning some kerosene, just put some kerosene in one of these cans, and about 3/4 of an inch, and it burned for an hour and a half. And yeah, we're good, pretty good. And it wasn't a lot of heat, but it did get warm in here. And so my idea is to put, several cans in there at the same time and light them on fire if I want a lot of heat. So that's an option. But and then I went and I started burning diesel. And I didn't like the diesel because of the soot and the smell. And it's oily soot, so it's really messy. And but when I did the diesel, I used this carbon felt. You can get this. You can get this at Home Depot and probably Lowe's, but Home Depot I know has it. That's where I got this, and it's just in the section where they have the copper tubing, copper fittings. And it's actually when I bought it, it was a piece like this. And so you hang this up like if you're going to use a torch. It's a welding blanket, so it's to protect things around what you're welding from catching on fire. And so it's 100% carbon, and it's fireproof. And so they have these by the copper fittings at Home Depot because you use a torch to heat up the copper tubing, and then you apply solder to the copper tubing for copper water pipes and stuff like that. And so that's where you can get this stuff. You can get big sheets at a welding supply place, huge sheets, all different sizes. And so I just needed a small amount to experiment with. And so I made one of these cans, I made a wick. And so I cut the wick like this. It was a little bit longer, so it fit down into the bottom, and it stuck up at the top. This one's a little short. But so it stuck up about, like, I'd say this much. And so thinking that it's carbon and it's not going to burn, and that's what people are saying, that it doesn't burn. Well, it does kind of melt and it deforms. And so ended up, after burning a few cans of diesel in here, and also burned some Crisco in it, but by the time I was done burning diesel in here a couple times, that was all I wanted to burn of the diesel, because I didn't like I said, I didn't like the smell and all the soot, and it smoked a lot. And yeah, so it wasn't pleasant. So this the felt kind of melted down. So now it's like down like this in the can, and it's all deformed. And I'll pull the can out and show you. So I'll use my tongs because there's still a lot of soot and stuff in here. And it's burned all the way down to the top of the can. So just pull this out. Try to not get the soot all over me. Turned red. That's interesting. So there's the wick inside the can there along the walls of the can, and it burned down to the top. That's as far as it went, and then it didn't burn down really any farther. So it's still working as a wick. It actually works still, and but I'm going to try something a little different, and so I'm going to get this out of here because it's got soot on it. Actually, it stayed pretty clean, this can. I've used a couple of these. When I was doing diesel, I spilled some diesel inside the stove, and it caught on fire inside on the bottom of the stove. And it was just totally sooted up and a mess. But I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of this and get it out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build another wick. This one's too short. I mean, this would work, and I'll hold on to this so I can use it in the future. But I want one that sticks up. So, and I don't want it to get deformed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to this, use this later. And I'm going to go ahead and make a new one. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use this piece that I just took out because the circumference is just about right. Look at it again. Yeah, that's good. That circumference is just about perfect. So I'm going to use this kind of as a template. And I'm going to want this to stick up a little bit. So I'll have to figure out how high I want to go with it. Okay, let's see how it fits in the can. And this is it's been folded, so it's kind of a little wonky down here at the bottom. So I'm going to put that part inside the can. I'm going to have the better part sticking out. And let's see which way is it going to bend better. I think it's going to go better this way. So, yeah, I think that's good. I need room because I'm spooning Crisco in here. And so I got to get through the door. It's going to see in there. So it's going to be, this will be about half the height of the door. So I can get in with a spoon and spoon the Crisco in. And I'll show you why I'm doing that and how it works. And it actually works really well. So now what I want to do, because the other can, this stuff melted down. It melted down until I got to the can. And it deformed and kind of just just melted basically. And so what I want to do is I needed some wire mesh and I couldn't find any. And so the only wire mesh I could find were these things for cooking. And that's to keep grease from splattering out of your saute pans. And so I got 2 of them because I wasn't sure exactly how much of this I needed. And I'm hoping I can make this work. I don't know. So there's one way to find out. And that's going to be take this and lay it on here, and yes, I can make this work. So I'm going to line this felt on both sides with this stainless steel screen. So I got 2 of these screens. So I just have to cut this out in the middle. And actually, I probably should just draw it so I don't get it wrong. Okay, I think I got it. So, okay, there's the pattern. So now I'm going to cut this out. Yeah, this ain't easy. Let me try to think of another way to cut this. Okay, so I'm going to try a razor knife. I don't know if I can cut through it with a razor knife, but I'm going to use this piece of foam to set it on to cut on. Piece of wood would be nice, but I really don't have anything around handy to get too easily. So let's see if I can cut it with a razor knife. It's kind of dull. I have to break the blade off a little bit. Yeah, I don't know about this. Oh yeah, this is the way to go. This is great. It's going to even do a lot cleaner job. There it goes. Okay. So that's pretty good. I don't like these little pieces of wire floating around, especially when you got electronic equipment around. Okay. So there's one. I got to make 2 of them. Hopefully the next one will go a little easier since I know what I'm doing now. So it's going to go in here. Let's see how my measuring goes. Okay, so this one's going to have to go on the inside of the felt. So the next one I got to make longer, which is not going to be easy because I pretty much used the whole screen. So yeah, this is going to have to go on the inside of the felt because it's short. It's a little short on the length. So the next one, I'm going to go ahead and work it again with this. Okay, so I got two of these. This one's going to go on the outside because I think it's longer. Okay, so it's going to be on the outside. Could have been just a little bit longer, but I didn't have, this wasn't long enough to work. So, like the saying goes, it is what it is. I hate that saying, but that is what it is. Okay, so now we're going to put the felt in. So now I got this on the outside. I'm going to put the felt on the inside of that. Let's see which side looks better. Just 6 of one and half dozen of the other, it looks like. So I think I'm going to put, so there's the seam here, right? These two pieces come together. And I'm going to have the seam to this opposite. So I don't want all the seams lined up, I don't think. So I'll make them opposite, and let's see which way will it look better. Just by shape. Okay, we'll go like this. Hopefully I can get this in here. I'm gonna have to make it smaller so it'll go in there, because this screen, if it touches the ends of these screens, it's gonna snag on it. And I just need to get it to go down in there. Okay, there we go. Turn it around the other way. It's like I'm rolling one up backwards. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's just put that in there real careful all the way to the bottom. Okay, there we go. Now just let it splay out. And let the chips fall where they may. Okay. Now, because I rolled it up tight, it's not springing out like I wanted it to. Okay, so there we go. So what I do is I put the Crisco down in here, and then I pour a little bit of alcohol on the wick here and get some down in here, and then I light it on fire. And hopefully this screen's going to keep this wick from deforming. I'm going to cut this wick a little bit to make it look a little better. It's just kind of not even. Okay, so what I do here, I take Crisco oil and I spoon it out and I put it in the can here inside. So I could fill this up right now with Crisco cold and put a little alcohol on here and put it in the stove and light it on fire, but I'm not going to do that because I need to be able to add Crisco while this is burning. And I can do that. I've experimented with it. It works great. It's very safe. And so what I do is I'm going to put this in there, and then I'm going to spoon some Crisco into the can while it's in here. And the hardest part is when I first start, because the Crisco is cold and it's going to stick to the spoon. So I got to kind of, oh, you know what? I got a spray bottle that I can put olive oil in. I haven't used it yet, but the olive oil I got, I don't want to put in there because it's not the quality olive oil that I usually use. Couldn't find it at the store, the olive oil I use. So I don't think I'll do that. I guess I could put some olive oil on the spoon, but I got a new spoon. So this was the spoon I was using before, just a regular tablespoon. I got a bigger spoon. I was thinking it might be easier. And it's pretty big, but I just got to make sure I get it down the inside and not spill it around the outside. So the trick is I'll put this in there. I'll spoon a couple globs of Crisco in there. Then I'll pour some of this rubbing alcohol in there onto the wick, so onto the carbon felt, and down in a little bit down inside. Then I take a paper towel and I roll it up and I light the end on fire and I light the alcohol on fire. And the alcohol burns, and after a while, it has to get hot, and it has to melt the Crisco because it's a solid at room temperature, and then it liquefies when it gets hot. And it won't burn until it gets hot, so it takes a little bit of alcohol to get it going. Once it gets going, then spooning this in there becomes a lot easier because what happens is imagine flames shooting up out of this thing. And I take some Crisco oil and a spoon, and what I do is I just hold that, because the Crisco is going to stick to the spoon. It's not going to want to come off. And so what I do is I just hold the spoon over the flame like this, and the spoon gets a little warm, and then I tilt it, and the Crisco just slides right off, and it doesn't catch on fire, and the spoon doesn't catch on fire, and then I just pull it out, and now the spoon's hot, and it cuts into the Crisco again. When I scoop out some more, it makes it really easy. It's like a hot knife through butter. And then I just kind of hold it over and heat the spoon up a little bit and tilt it, and the Crisco just drops right inside. And it's really safe. So I'm going to give it a try. This spoon might be a little big, but I'm going to go ahead and try it anyway. I think I'm going to put some olive oil on here first so it doesn't stick so much. I'm going to go ahead and just coat this with some olive oil. Okay, so now the reason I'm doing it this way with the spoon and spooning it into the stove is because if I fill this up right now and light it on fire full up to about here with the Crisco, it'll burn for maybe 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I'm going to have to add more fuel. Well, I can go ahead and spoon Crisco in while this is still burning. So all I have to do is just spoon it in through the door, and I don't have to touch this can or mess with it at all. So, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this into the stove and hopefully not get soot all over me and get it centered. So I'm going to try to do everything from inside here, because once this goes in there, it's going to stay in there. I'm not going to be taking it out, hopefully. So I'm just going to go ahead. I may just use my tongs here so I don't get soot all over my hands. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in. Okay. Okay, that looks good. So there it is in the center. And now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can spoon some Crisco in here. Now what I'm going to have to do is I'm probably going to have to use my finger and get this kind of loose. See, it's already sticking even with the olive oil. And get it so it's just barely hanging on the spoon here. And hopefully I can get it in there without it falling in the wrong place. And I'm going to spoon it in. And hopefully, oh, right in. Perfect. So a couple of those to get started. That's all I need. So this is 100% vegetable oil, and I'm heating my boat with 100% vegetable oil. I still may go ahead and try to make some of my own biofuel and going to restaurants and getting their used oil that they discard. They send it to recyclers, and I can get it either really cheap or hopefully free. Ooh, that's too much. See, now I already got soot on there, and I don't want to touch it, but it's just having problems getting through the door here. There we go. I'll go that way with it. Come on, fall off. There it goes. Okay. So it's messy. Nothing new. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this off. Take the paper towel. Next thing I got to do is put in some alcohol. And I want to get some alcohol on the wick and also down into the, this may be challenging. I may have to come up with some kind of way to get the alcohol in there besides this bottle, because it's a full bottle. It won't be bad this time, but once the bottle starts getting empty, it's going to be like impossible to pour it in. So I'm going to have to come up with something. I think maybe a syringe or something. I have syringes that I use for epoxy work, and they're just made out of plastic. Oop, and that'd probably work fine. Let's see if I can get some of this in here without spilling it all over the place. Okay, got some in there. Get some on the outside. Okay, hopefully I got enough there so I can start it. And be careful with your alcohol because it's flammable. One thing about the Crisco, it takes quite a bit to get the Crisco to burn, so it's really, really safe. And now I just need a lighter. Okay, let's see if I can get this to light. There it goes. Snuff that out. Okay, see it's burning in there. Now I got a flame going, and so I got some alcohol on the wick. So I'm just going to keep scooping this in there, and I'll use the flame to heat the spoon, and that makes the stuff fall off. I think this spoon's kind of big for this. Let's see what I can do. Now see this. Now this, I'm going to heat the spoon up, and it's going to heat the Crisco in the spoon, and it should just slide right in. Boom, just like that. And see, it comes out nice and clean, and it's not on fire. And so I'm going to go ahead and just continue. And the spoon's hot now, so it'll cut into the Crisco here in the can easier. And so now you can see that when this Crisco starts to burn up after a couple hours, I just spoon more in. That's all I have to do. I think this is too tall to go in there. So it's like scooping ice cream. Let's see if I can get this in here. Yeah. And I just heat up the bottom of the spoon. And then I just, and it slides right in. Look at that. What's nice about the big spoon, ooh, I'm dripping it. Yeah, dripping it. It's just vegetable oil, so it's no big tragedy. What's nice about the big spoon is with this little spoon, I had to just keep spooning and spooning and spooning to fill that container up. Now it's just going to be a few scoops, so it's going to make it easy. Now I've had problems with this Crisco splattering and sputtering, so you want to be careful. I think it's just moisture in it. Okay, I'm going to go one more, and that'll be it. And I think that'll be good enough. And it slides right off. And yeah, that sucker's full. Come on, let go. It just doesn't want to let go. I may end up putting it out because I got too much in there. That's going to go out. I'm going to have to put more alcohol in there. I'm going to have to wait for it to go completely out. I filled it too full too fast. Let's see if it goes. It's trying. Once the Crisco melts and once the can gets hot, what happens is once the can gets hot, the Crisco will melt into liquid and then it'll start to boil. And so it'll wick up the felt easier and it'll ignite easier. I just hope I didn't get too much in there. I don't think I did. I think once it melts down, it's going to, it'll settle down to the bottom. Hopefully it didn't overfill that sucker. But it's still trying to burn, so I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to go on its own. Okay, so now I just take my Crisco and my spoon and just set it aside. And then in another couple hours, I just scoop some more in. And that's all there is to it. So let's see if I can get this. Let's see if it'll go. It's trying. I think I just put too much in too quick. But that was really easy, and my hands are clean. Really no soot on anything on my hands. A little blue ink from the pen when I was cutting the wire. But it looks like it's trying to burn. So we'll see. Yeah, it's picking up. I think it's going to go now. And then you'll see that Crisco, it'll melt and it'll go down to the bottom of the can. It's just held up. Oh yeah, it's going to burn now. So good. So it was getting a little cold in here. So I don't have any other heat on. And the Crisco is really starting to melt now. And so I'm hoping that wire mesh is going to keep that wick in shape. There it goes. It just fell down inside. Let's see if I can see how full it is. Actually, I can continue to put more in. I'm going to let it burn for a little bit until that liquefies, and I'll scoop some more in. And then that way I don't have to mess with it for a couple hours. And make sure that this is open up all the way. I just cleaned out my stovepipe, and what a difference that made because it was sooted up. I was getting smoke coming back out this way in here. And my boat wasn't smelling good, especially when I was burning diesel. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Look at that. There you go. And I can cook on there. It's not hot yet, but it's warm. But after this burns for a while, it gets hot enough I can cook on top of here. And it warms the boat up pretty good. It's not very cold tonight, so let's see what temperature it is outside. Here it is. Oh, it's pretty warm. It's 50 degrees outside. So 50, it's comfortable in here with no heat at 50. I mean, I can tolerate it. When it gets down to like 40, then it gets a little cold. And when it gets in the 30s, it definitely gets cold. It gets to the point where it starts getting a little uncomfortable. And yeah, look at that. Look at that. It's working great. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that wick. It may burn up. I don't know. It's not supposed to burn because it's 100% carbon, or it should last a very long time, but I don't know. We'll see. And it's sputtering a little bit. Then you want to be careful with your eyes. Anything when you have a fire that's popping and sputtering, you know, stuff can come flying out and hit you in the eye. So just be careful. I can close the door here now, and it'll be okay. But I'm just going to leave it open for now until it gets going good, and I probably go ahead and spoon some more Crisco. I can't see. I think it's full enough. I don't think I need to spoon any in right now. So I'm just going to let it burn, and that's it. And then after it burns, maybe overnight, maybe tomorrow, I'll open this up and take it out and look at it and see how that wick worked out. I just looked outside and looked at the smokestack outside, and I don't see any smoke at all. None. So that's really good. I mean, my neighbors won't even know I got a fire going on in here. And we have spare the air days here in the San Francisco Bay, where you're not allowed to burn wood or solid fuel. Well, this ain't solid fuel. At least once the Crisco melts, it's no longer solid. So I should, even on spare the air days, be able to burn this stuff. And it burns really clean. So there's absolutely no smoke outside. And so yeah, this is going to work good as long as my wick don't burn up too much. And I don't really need a wick in there, I don't think. I could probably just put Crisco in the can and burn it that way. And in the future, I may go ahead and experiment. I haven't done that with the Crisco yet. I did it with the kerosene, and I did it with the diesel. And with the diesel, I used a wick. I had the wick in there. But the diesel will burn without a wick. I know that for a fact. This Crisco will too, but you got to get it hot because it's harder to ignite. So, I'll always have to use some kind of starter like alcohol to get it going. I mean, I have a little propane torch I could use, but I don't want to bring a propane torch in. Propane torches propane is heavier than air, and it's really dangerous on a boat. A lot of people cook with propane, and luckily I went ahead and I cook now only with electricity, and because I got solar panels I'm going to put up, and I got a lithium battery bank that I built, and so I'm going to be doing all my cooking with electricity, except for if I cook on the stove here. And but propane's heavier than air, so it's really dangerous. And then I also had an alcohol stove that I used to have on my other boat, and I had one in here too. And I got rid of it because it caught on fire on my other boat when I went to sleep. And luckily, I was not totally asleep, and I kind of could see light coming through my eyelids, and I opened up my eyes, and I could see through this crack on the alcohol stove, and it was on fire after I went to bed. So, yeah, so I'm all my cooking pretty much can be done with electricity, solar power, hopefully, or wind power. I have some couple wind turbines I'm going to put on here. But at any rate, yeah, so it's working good, and I feel the heat, and it looks like the wick's burning good, and the wire mesh seems to be holding. I don't know if that wire mesh is eventually going to just burn away. It might. Okay, the fire's out, and it's cold. It's cooled off. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the can out of the stove and look at the wick, and it appears that the wick burned up, and I'm pretty sure. So let's take a look and see what we get. Get my tongs. Ooh, pulling out soot. Yuck. Not too much. Yep. So, I don't know if you can see it very well, but the wick burnt down to the top of the can. But it doesn't look like it burned any farther down. But, so I have the stainless steel wire mesh on both sides of the wick. So you can see there's two wire mesh screens here. And so the fuse is down to the top of the can. It burnt down. I had the fuse all the way up here, and it burnt from here, totally gone. So that didn't work. I assume that I don't know, because of the can, maybe the wick will stop burning at this point, and I can reuse this, so I may try reusing this and try it again just like it is. Just fill it up and go ahead and run it, but and light it. But yeah, it didn't work out the way I was hoping. When I first started this up, when the wick was all the way up to the top of the wire mesh, the fuse was up, an inch high. That really put a nice big flame in the stove. So it was, it made for a really nice, a lot of heat and a lot of flame. And now that it's burnt down, the wick's down here, I don't think it's definitely not gonna put out as much flame, because it was coming out the sides here. So Now it's just going to be pretty much more straight up. So at any rate, yeah, a little disappointing. And the other thing is that this carbon felt, which I assumed was 100% carbon, it may not be. And I may have to go ahead and try some other carbon felt, try to find some that I know that's 100% carbon, because this could have been mixed with something else. It might not be 100% carbon, and that might be why it burned, because I was told that because it's carbon, it really won't burn, and that's why they used it as, you know, they use them for welding blankets. And so, yeah, I'm going to have to look into that and see. But at any rate, if this video was helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe.